Hey, everybody, Patrick Verno here again. Welcome to day 6 of the Leadership Bridge Awareness Week. And if you've been following the series from day 1, what we talked about on the first day is really building a bridge inside. And then we move on to, after sort of learning to lead from the inside out, I went on to talk about the behaviors that really create that bridge with those people that are around us. And it's all based on a book that will be published at the end of this month, which is called The Leadership Bridge, How to Engage Your Employees and Drive Organizational Excellence. And really, to be able to drive organizational excellence is not about just profitability. It's really about creating an environment, a culture that creates excellence. And I think that's what these behaviors that I'm talking about really will demonstrate and drive in your own business when you demonstrate these behaviors. We're building bridges. That's all we're doing with those people that we interact with. And the better we are at demonstrating these behaviors that I mentioned. So the first one is congruence. That's our first cable that we build, right? Do we walk the talk? The next is around appreciation. Do we recognize people for not only their diversity, their backgrounds, what they bring to the organization, but do we also recognize people or appreciate them for the contributions that they make? And I think that's something that often gets overlooked, or at least not done consistently enough that people feel as though they're really valued for what they're doing. So the next cable that we talk about is around belonging and the importance that has in terms of creating a culture where people feel connected. And I think the more people feel connected, the less likely people are to look outside of that organization to go somewhere else. Because when we feel as though we're part of something special and we're around people that we really enjoy being with, then money certainly is important, but it's not the most important when we talk about quality of life. Next, we talked about listening, the importance of really how do we develop good, strong listening skills. And I talked about it in 4 different components that I believe and have experienced that really create the most well-rounded approach we can have to creating good listening skills, which is a muscle we continue to develop that. So for today, what are we going to talk about? It's around empathy. And I will tell you, empathy is one of those things that I think certainly has gotten more attention over the last several years, and rightfully so. I think without having empathy, we really miss opportunities, I think, to connect with people on, I think, a very personal level. And again, if I'm in a leadership role, I might have forgotten what it's like to be somebody that's at a lower level, somebody that is maybe new to the organization or on the front lines. What's it really like to be in that position? And what's I find fascinating, and I talk about this in the book, is one of the examples that I have in regards to empathy is a study that was done where they had individuals look at a picture of somebody that was going through a painful event. And what they were doing was they had their brains tied to an fMRI machine, or linked up to it. So they had one of those basically caps that tracks all different parts of your brain. And what they were looking for was activity that was going on. So what they then did was they asked people looking at that same picture to imagine they were the ones experiencing that pain. And what they found was when the individuals themselves actually imagined that they were the ones experiencing the pain, the part of their brain that experiences pain actually became activated. So what does that say? Obviously, that when we really imagine that we are in somebody else's shoes, that we're where they are, it has a lot more power in terms of our ability to connect with them. So you can think of all the different areas that this can be in. If I'm the leader and maybe I've got to talk to somebody about their performance or how their performance needs to change, maybe I'm thinking about this from their perspective. If I were the one that needed to have a conversation about my performance, how would I want to be approached? If I was somebody that was going through having to work remotely and my kids are now at home and all these other things are going on and I'm having a hard time juggling things, and and my manager needs to have a conversation with me. What if my manager's imagining what it must be like in my household with all the other things that are going on? How would that conversation be different if that's the case? So there are a number of different ways that we can bring in empathy in these situations, and it's a very important cable for us to have to build. If we really want to create that environment where we're engaging our employees, um, because when we do that, we're demonstrating to them that we really care about them, and we know how important that is, right? I mentioned earlier in one of the LinkedIn lives around status as being so important, and that's work that's been done by a neuroscientist named David Rock, who talked about 5 different social needs, one of them being status, and all status is, do I feel valued? Do I feel important? And I think that is so important for us now. I think over the last 2 years, I think many more people have had an opportunity to really reassess, what do I want? Where do I wanna work? What am I willing to trade my time for? And who am I willing to trade it with in regards to interactions? And I think that's what we're seeing. So those leaders that really recognize the shift that is happening right now, I think are the ones that are going to benefit. I think you're the ones that are going to attract the best talent, and you're going to then develop the best talent, and you're going to retain the best talent because of that. So I hope you found this valuable. I'm going to keep it short today. Empathy. Imagine yourself being where somebody else is. That's really the name of the game on this one in terms of a cable and how we develop that. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about a behavior, the last behavior in the cables model, which really I think is probably, from my position and a lot of the work that I do, is the one that creates the most challenges within organizations. When I deal with conflict or teams that aren't getting along or personal relationships that need to be worked on by somebody, or assisted by somebody like myself, this is the behavior that I often see needing the most, and it revolves around specifics. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Until then, I hope you're able to